Hi guys, this is going to be my dark crystal video. If you'd like to see how I did this set, make sure you keep watching. This was a very long set to do, so I've split this video up a little bit, so it's just going to be a little shorty for you. So yeah, if you want to see, just keep hanging there and keep watching. Right, let's get cracking. So I've already sculpted out and done all my my glitters and whatnot in the background and filed and shaped and whatever. I've put these on to nail guards. You can buy those on like Amazon and eBay and stuff, just so that I can take them off, because I plan on keeping these and putting them in a little frame and stuff for my salon. So yeah, so I'm just going in now with my acrylic paint and blocking out my faces. I should have really, just pro tip, I should have blocked the whole goddamn thing first, because I didn't like the composition when I finished, and I'd totally change it if I did it again. But I got carried away and did a bunch of detail like some sort of amateur, and then couldn't change it because I was not taking it off after doing like 2 hours worth of work. So don't be like me, do you know what I mean? So yeah, so I'm just blocking in for now, just blocking the faces in. I think like I say, I should have blocked the bodies in and should have blocked in the other nail and all that sort of stuff, but I didn't because I'm an idiot. But yeah, so we live and we learn. You can learn from my mistakes. So I'll block in the faces. I'll make sure I get a nice sort of even coating on those, like do a couple of layers, whatever. And then I'll come in and start on my detail, which, you know, pro tip, don't do that. But yeah. So yeah, so I'll let you just watch me block in for a bit, and you know, I'll come back to you when I start some detail. There's a lot wrong with this set, so I'm going to go through all the stuff that I knacked up and that I would change, so you can learn from my mistakes, and it's not just a video of you watching me and being like, oh, they're really good, you know, blah blah blah, because people do that and it's like, but they're awful though. So whatever. So yeah, so I'll let you watch for a little bit, and I'll come back when on my first major mistake. I'll come back and let you know. Right, okay, so I've done my hair texture. Hair texture is like one of my favourite things to do. I think I come back to this about 8 times, bringing up layer and layer and layer, enjoying myself, getting these hair textures to look really nice. But I'm going to come in and do the face now, and this is where I went wrong. What I've learnt since, because I learnt this lesson on this set, because I did on my index finger, I did Olgra, however you pronounce it, and I had an epiphany while I was doing it that I was using paint wrong for this sort of work. Like, it's fine doing cartoons and stuff this way, but I was trying to get like a realistic sort of real skin texture on these gelflings, and I did not achieve it. The main mistake I made was I was working from a paint-in reference. So the reference that you can see on my phone, on my old phone on the right, is actually a painting, not the puppets themselves. So it's part of the film's artwork. Big mistake for me, because I tried to copy all the brush strokes, which was stupid. I don't know why I did that. Because you can't, for starters, that's probably painted in oil. Do you know what I mean? And acrylic and oil don't work the same in the slightest. Like, even on this tiny scale, you cannot blend acrylic properly. It just does not work. Secondly, I would have been better off just using a reference for the actual puppets and putting the brush strokes where I felt they deserved to be, as opposed to trying to replicate somebody else's work. So this is the problem that I did. So another thing that I did was I tried to direct paint, if that makes sense. So if you're a painter, you'll probably know what I mean by that, but if you're not, what I mean is I tried to do like a sort of paint by numbers kind of technique, where you put each gradient in on each brush stroke, and you know what I mean, which is fine. It's a perfectly legitimate way to paint, but it doesn't give the effect that I wanted. So what I would do in future, if you want to, obviously when you finish watching this one, if you watch my second part to this, you'll see my Olgra, and you'll see the technique that I'm talking about now in that nail. So I should have thinned my paint down and done washes to create the shadows, and built it up in layers. I think it would have been a much better effect based on obviously how the finish looks on both different techniques. I much prefer the way that the other one went. So I would definitely do that in future, especially if I'm going to do skin in acrylic. That is the technique I would use, because this took forever and I did not get the results I wanted, and I kept messing with it and messing with it and messing with it, and it still didn't get to where I wanted it. Like, I look at it now because it's in a frame behind my head, like in my salon, literally where I'm sat, and I just don't like it. It's not, I don't dislike the actual overall thing, but I don't like the texture that it give me. Like, I spent a lot of time getting the features right, which is fine, obviously I'd do that anyway, but it's that gradient from the shadows to the light that I just do not like at all. Not down for it. So I think in future I'm going to use the technique that I do on the index. So make sure you watch the second video to see how it should have been done, and you'll see the difference that I'm talking about, because I'm using like a layering technique rather than this sort of like paint by numbers, direct painting kind of thing, which is definitely not my preference. I don't like to do it like that. So yeah, so I'm just sort of laying in all the shadows, all sort of blocking them out where the features are going to be, and then I'm going to sort of start with my dark tones and work up to my light tones, or start with my light tones, work down to my dark tones. I can't remember, but I just did it wrong, so it don't matter. So yeah. Whereas when I do it with a wash, I'll start with my mid-tones, work down to my darks, and then add in my highlights on top. So my highlights are like a direct paint sort of thing, you know, where you're putting them exactly where you want them. But all my mid-tones and my darks are all a wash, so it's all blended and nice. Gives kind of a watercolory vibe. So yeah, that's pro tip today. So I'm going to let you watch the rest of these gelflings, and I'll come back in when I get onto the second one, because there's some things that I need to tell you about for that. I split this video where I actually stopped, because this took me 2 days. So it might not feel like it makes much sense to you, but it made sense to me. So yeah, so I'll let you watch. The second part will be up in probably about 4 days or so. I'm going to schedule them all when I finish recording these voiceovers, so I'll make sure it's in the same week, so you won't have to wait until the week after. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I'll come back in a minute and let you watch until I get to the next gelfling. Let you watch me messing about with this for no reason. Oh, never mind. I forgot that I'd lost some footage in the middle, so yeah, but yeah, I basically messed about with it for about another hour before I got to here. So, and just kept doing like individual brush strokes with each different colour, and it was just a nightmare. It's just silly. Just don't be me. Do you know what I mean? Don't do that. So yeah, I'm just deepening the shadow there. Again, I'm copying the brush strokes, and I'm copying how he's done the lighting. I'm assuming it's a he. I don't actually know. Copying how the artist has done the lighting and stuff like that, which I shouldn't have. I should have just found some pictures of the actual puppets. It would have been loads better. Just trying to get the eyes right. The eyes always look a bit weird when you're doing art like this until you put your highlight on, and then they look fine. I think that the female girlfriend, I can't remember her name. It's been years since I've seen this film. The female girlfriend, her eyes look a bazillion times better than this. I don't know why, but I just couldn't get Jen's face right. It would just annoy me. I would messing with it for hours, you know. But yeah, this set, as I progressed through, just got better. It just got easier and easier. Like the first face took me hours. Second face took me slightly less hours, and then the last nail, it was like 45 minutes, and I was like, this one looks best. What is going on? Here we go, so I've blocked her eyes out. I'm coming in with some of the shadows, still making the same mistakes. This one just goes a bit smoother because I've had that bit of practice doing it. Like literally like practice makes perfect. And don't get me wrong, these aren't perfect because I don't even like them, but you know, you can see, like when I'm doing a big project like this, I can feel myself getting better as I go. Do you know what I mean? Like you learn your lessons within 5 minutes. So it's really useful to do, instead of just doing like one little nail here and there as a little bit of practice, or doing a specific piece of art. Do a full set. Just do a full set, and by the time you finish that set, you're already, you know, at least 4 nails better than you are. You know what I mean? So this is how I like to work. I like to just throw myself in the deep end. Don't sit there practicing how to do flowers or whatever. Just literally do a set with all the stuff that you want to practice, and just repeat it and repeat and repeat and repeat it within a set, and then you've got something beautiful at the end that you can keep. You're not just throwing away a bunch of tips with like one flower on or something. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's a much more interesting and more effective way to work, because you sit down for a long time doing it, and I don't know, it's just my preference. I really like working like this. So yeah, so I'm just coming in and blocking out the mouth. I do mess about with these mouths quite a lot because I wanted to get that shape right. I think mouths, noses and eyes, obviously the features of the face, you have to get the shape right. If you don't get the shape right, it's not going to look like that character, you know. And you have to get the sort of the values right for the shading and stuff. You don't want it to be overly contrasted, you know what I mean? You want to try and keep it pretty blended. This is one of the main things I don't like about this set, because I don't think the values are right. By values, obviously, if you're a painter, you know what I'm on about, but by values I mean like how dark or light something is. I don't mean the actual colour. The values are really important. So yeah, I think this one is definitely more successful in that regard than the first one. The first one, the values and the colours are a bit off, like it's a bit starkly lit, if that makes sense. whereas she's a bit more blended and a bit more realistic, I guess you could say. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to let you watch the rest of her face, and then I'll come back when I come to the hair. Right, okay, so her hair. Basically, I've come in and I've just put a wash down to block it out, and then I'm just coming in repeatedly over and over with slightly different shades of blonde, just to sort of build up layers and stuff. Make sure that you don't have to do like every strand, don't get me wrong, you're doing groups of hair, and you also don't need to go all the way from root to tip with every strand. Some bits you're going to put a highlight in, and that'll just be on a third of the strand or whatever. So yeah, so I'm just sort of layering this up, adding darker strands, leaving gaps, adding dark strands where I want, you know, shadows and to give it some movement and stuff like that. Painting hair is one of my favourite things to do. I absolutely love it. I love like building up a structure and a shape just with nothing. Like you're literally not making a shape at all. You're just doing tiny little like slashes, you know, just tiny little strokes, but you can really build a form with it, which I absolutely adore doing. It's like literally one of my favourite things. So yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing. I'm adding highlights, lowlights, coming back in with the main blonde colour, knocking it back, you know, just like really taking my time to get it correct. I think her hair's the most successful thing about this painting. so yeah, so that's basically what I'm going to keep doing until I'm happy with it. So just keep watching and you'll see what I mean. Just perfecting that shape of a mouth and nose now, making sure our nostrils are roughly the right size and stuff like that. And then I'm going to come in and block the bodies out now. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to block the bodies out in the general tone, in the general colour, and then I'll top coat them once they're dry and, you know, have a break. And then tomorrow what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll buff the top coat so that it's grippy so that I can paint on it again. But I don't buff it all the way off because obviously I don't want to take off my paint, so I just sort of lightly buff it just to get it so that I can carry on painting. So yeah, so I'm just laying in where his arms are going to be, just roughly. I'm going to be painting over this. This is just like a little underpainting so that I know where it's all going to be. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do her body as well, I think. Doing 2 layers so it's built up a little, just making adjustments as I go to where I think everything should be. Not adding any detail whatsoever, just getting the overall shape. I think I'll block hers in as well, I'm not sure, I might not. I'll do it obviously eventually, but I don't know if I do it in this video or in the next one. Let's block hers in a slightly darker colour because she's got a slightly more orangey tunic. Just filling in that hair that should have, like I didn't do the hair quite long enough. I decided while I was blocking in that I didn't like how her nose looked, so I'm just sort of re-blocking those nostrils in. I do this a lot. I'll move on to another part of the piece and then sort of in my peripheral vision keeping an eye on the rest of it to see if I hate it, because generally after I've sat and looked at something for a while I hate it, so I can make some adjustments, because sometimes while you're doing it you're not sure what's wrong with it, but you know that it's not right. Like there, I've decided that I hate a mouth, it's in the wrong place, it's the wrong shape, so I'm just going to start again with it. So that's what I'm going to do. Just going to block in where the crystal's going to go, because it's just going to be like an outline sort of thing. And then fill in some colours and stuff later. Just making sure I get the geometry of it right, if I can. I'm trying to do as thin a line as physically possible, because there's no paint around these lines to block back in with. I'd have to scratch it off, so I'm doing my best to keep them thin so that I don't have to do that. Because line work's quite difficult when it stands on its own, you know. I'm just blocking this in blue a little bit, just to replicate what's on the screen. Obviously it's very difficult to replicate like a glow. It's not something that I've successfully done, I would say. Even on this piece I won't say it's particularly successful. It's okay, you know what I mean? It doesn't give the same effect as what's on the painting. So, but yeah, I was happy enough to abandon it when I'd finished. So I'm just sort of getting that structure of the crystal in. Just coming back in and sorting his mouth out. I was much happier with it after this attempt. I'm glad I took it off. Just sort of keep messing until I'm happy, or happy enough. I did really enjoy doing these. It was nice to just sit by myself for like 15 hours. A bit of me time. My arm was absolutely killing me though. Oh my god. My left arm, from trying to keep it face towards the camera, because the camera's on my left shoulder. So I've had to like extend it slightly more than normal to sort of give you a good view. Oh, so I was like in agony when I finished. It still hurts now, and this was like 3 weeks ago. It's still sore. Like my wrist hurts. Been getting cramp in my thumb ever since as well. Yeah, I need to work my camera angle out for working on myself, because I'm not doing this again. You have to excuse my janky other hand as well. Forgot to mention it. Like I went on holiday and snapped 2 of them and had a canoeing incident and all sorts. But yeah, so that's part 1. This is obviously the finished product, so if you want to see the rest of it, watch part 2. As I said, the technique in part 2 is very different, so if you want to see it, make sure you subscribe and you'll get an alert when it comes out. It should be sometime this week. But yeah, hopefully you liked it. Bye bye.